artwork could be. Not a museum, where is it? The fridge. So my mom would take my artwork and put it on the fridge. And I said to my mom, Mom, you should put me on the fridge next to my artwork. I said, you don't like that idea. But I knew that when I grew up, I was going to be an artist. That was my dream. That was my goal. I used to draw all the time. And then I was 11 years old. And I went to the movies. And I saw a movie that changed my life. I saw the movie E.T. Anyone seen that movie? Yeah, you know that? So I go to the theater. I'm watching E.T. I'm inspired. Amazing. The credits are rolling. I tap my mom at the end of the movie. I go, Mom, that's what I want to do someday. She's like, what? You want to leave planet Earth in a spaceship? I'm like, no, Mom. I want to make movies. Guys, I grew up in New York. I grew up in Long Island. I didn't know any filmmakers. I didn't know any Hollywood people. I didn't even know that was a job you could do. All I knew was when I looked up to the screen, it just called to me. That's what I wanted to do. So I went to the library, and I got books on filmmaking. I found out about cameras and lenses and storyboarding. I found out that Steven Spielberg made movies every weekend. He was a Jewish guy. He made it as a director. Why can't I? So I got my sister, my older brother, and every weekend I would make movies. Murder movies, monster movies. I made a kidnap movie. One movie I tied my sister up to a tree very tight. Very tight. Went into the house to watch the movie, and I still remember my mom going, I like the movie, but where's your sister? They said, she's still tied to the tree. What's wrong? So I knew I was going to try that at home, okay? Don't do that to your sister. I knew I was going to be a filmmaker. And then I get to Hollywood. Not Hollywood. I get to high school. We'll get to Hollywood later. I get to high school, and somebody comes up to me in high school. They said to me, Saul, what are you going to do when you get out of high school? I said, well, I'm going to be a filmmaker. They said, you really don't want to do that. I said, no, I really do. They said, no, you don't, because if you want to be a filmmaker, you're going to have to move out to Hollywood. And Hollywood is filled with weirdos. They looked at me and said, you don't want to end up a weirdo, do you? And I said, no, I don't want to end up a weirdo. And I'm telling you guys, right then and there, I gave up on my dream of wanting to be a filmmaker because one person told me I would end up a weirdo. Now, when you hear that story, when I say that to you, even I'm in my head thinking, why did I listen to that person? Because so often in life, especially when we're teenagers, we listen to people. We're impressionable. The trajectory of our life can be defined by people around us. I gave up on that dream, forget that. My parents said, so what are you going to do? I said, well, I'll go back to wanting to be an artist. I had incredibly supportive parents. I did not have a good art program in my high school. So my mom brings in an art teacher, a private art teacher, to come to our house once a week. She teaches me to draw from life. She says, Saul, drawing is about seeing. You have to develop your eye to see the world differently. She set up a bowl of fruit. She said, draw with pencil. Next week's charcoal, painting, pastels, taught me all these different mediums. I was terrible at drawing hands. Hands was like a weakness for me. My art teacher said, oh, you're terrible at drawing hands? I got an idea for you. Draw a hand from a different position every single night before you go to bed, and you know what will happen? You'll get good at drawing hands. She gave me a great piece of wisdom. She said, take your weakness and turn it into your strength. Amazing teacher. And I got good at drawing hands. And then I go to the movies, and I see another movie that changes my life. Junior in high school, and I see the movie The Little Mermaid. You guys see that movie? You guys did that, you're still cool. Little Mermaid. How do you know it? Yeah, you guys have seen the movie or heard of it? Have you seen it? You still haven't seen it. Tonight, you go home, Little Mermaid. You on? You guys are on, right? It's a lie, right? It's totally a lie. Closet and Little Mermaid down. You guys have all seen it? This is before Frozen. So I go see The Little Mermaid. At the end of the movie, the credits are rolling. I tap my mom, and I'm like, Mom, that's what I want to do. She's like, what? You want to fall in love with a fish? I'm like, no, Mom. I want to work at Disney. You see, guys, I was a junior in high school, and at that moment, I knew what my dream was. My dream was to become a Disney animator. I just had one problem. I had no idea how to do it. How often do I meet students and I ask them, what's your goal? What's your dream? And the ones that are lucky enough to know, then I ask them, how are you going to get it? They sometimes don't know. You go to a great restaurant, you taste an unbelievable dessert, you can make that dessert at home if you have the recipe. I didn't know how to do it. You know what I did have? An unbelievably supportive mother. My mom took me on a trip, not my brother, not my sister, took me on a trip to Disney World. Walking me around Disney World, going over to all the Disney cast members that work there, embarrassing me. My son wants to be a Disney animator, can you help him? We're getting on it's a small boat ride. Stepping on the boat. The lady at Disney's like, how many are party? We're like, 2. We're stepping in the boat. The lady's like, by the way, my mom says, my son wants to be a Disney animator. They said, man, this stuff boat ride. We don't cast member says, look, if you want your son to work at Disney, he's got to go to the Disney casting building. It's 4 minutes from where we were at Disney World. So my mom drives me there. Imagine what a Disney office building looks like. How cool and imaginative that building must have been. The doorknobs were the ones from Alice in Wonderland that speak. They were made out of brass. I open up the doors of this building. I walk into this atrium, and there's gold statuettes of Mickey, Donald, Pluto, Goofy. Even the air in there was like Disney air, like pixie dust in the air. On the left was a mural of Walt Disney holding a sketchbook. I was like, wow, look at that. How would I work here? Then there's this ramp. It goes all the way up. I'm walking up this ramp, and on the ceiling is Peter Pan and Wendy flying off to Neverland. And I'm like, that's where I want to go. I want to go to Neverland. I want to work at Disney. So finally, I'm sitting there. The woman says, can I help you? I'm like, yeah, I want to be a Disney animator. She goes, well, we don't hire those. I'm like, what do you mean? Who do you hire? She goes, well, we hire people that work the rides in the park. See, we hire people that work in Disney World. We don't hire animators. So she can see my face deflate. I was upset. She goes, well, hold on a second. She walks out, comes back in 2 minutes later, and hands me a piece of paper. It became the most important piece of paper I ever held in my hands, other than my wedding ketubah. Tell my wife I said that. The piece of paper was a list of 8 schools. 8 art schools that Disney recruits their artists from. She says, if you want to be a Disney animator, you need to go to one of these schools. Well, that was the rest of me. And in my head, an equation was beginning. Saul plus go to one of these schools will equal a dream of becoming a Disney animator. So my mom takes me to all these different schools to see which would be a good fit for me. We go from one school after another. We get to Columbus, Ohio, the Columbus College of Art and Design. I'm walking the halls of this school, and all the artwork on the walls, I'm telling you guys, was 100 times better than anything I could ever do. I was intimidated. If I chose this school, I'm telling you the truth, I would have been the worst one at this school. But see, I have a theory. I don't care if you're 2 years old. I don't care if you're 120 years old. Every single person on the planet wants the exact same thing. Everybody wants greatness. Nobody wakes up and wants to be mediocre. But my hero growing up in the 90s was the greatest basketball player that ever lived. Yeah, that's right. Not LeBron. Not LeBron. It's Jordan. Come on. How many people think it's LeBron? How many people are wrong? Raise your hand. Okay, come on. So it was MJ. Really? LeBron? You've seen the clips of Jordan. You've seen what he's done. You're still choosing LeBron. Hey. We'll talk about this later, guys. This conversation will happen because I love this conversation. My son, he goes to school defending daddy all the time with MJ. So in the 90s, Jordan was the man for me. You would at least admit that in the 90s he was the GOAT, right? You would admit that? Okay. So in the 90s, Jordan was the man. After one game, his first year in the NBA, check this out. A sports writer comes up to him and says, Michael, you're a scoring machine, but you have no defensive game. You know, Michael could have said, the guy, dude, I just made $1 million playing basketball. I'm going to listen to you. You're wearing my Air Jordan sneakers. I'm going to listen to you. But Jordan thought one thing in his head. Something I'm doing is giving that guy the perception that I don't have a defensive game. I guess I better work harder on defense. And he did. And next year in the NBA, one player was named Defensive Player of the Year. Number 23, Michael Jordan. Because he took his weakness, feeling that art school of intimidation, and said, you know what, if I'm the worst artist in this school, then if I choose a school like this, I'll get better. So I chose a school. And thank God they chose me. So first day in school, I'm about to walk into my dorm room. And all I'm thinking is, God, please have me be living with someone somewhat normal in this room for the next semester. You have no idea what you're going to get. So I walk into my dorm room, and my roommate had already settled his things in, but he wasn't there at that time. I opened up the wardrobe cabinet. Half was empty for me. The other half, all black clothing, black pants, black shirt, everything black. Do you have any idea how strange students are in art school? Pick the strangest person you've ever met in your life and fill an entire school with them. I'm talking like piercings, lashes, street hair. These are the guys I'm talking about. Strange. Finally, my roommate walks in. He's got a big shaved head, blonde mop of hair over one eye. I never saw that eye. It was like totally covered. You know, whole semester. It's like a family opera. Over my bed, I had the Michael Jordan Wings poster. That was the name of the poster. It was Michael Jordan the basketball, just up here. You know what was over my roommate's bed? A life-size sculpture of JC on the cross. His high school art project. I was drawing bowls of fruit. He was sculpting a human man, nailing him to a cross, and that was over his bed. We both had humans like this. Mine was Jordan, and his was Jason. I walked down the dorm rooms a little bit more, and I walk into this guy's room, and I see this guy. He's got a Mickey Mouse bedspread. I'm like, what kind of guy wears, Mickey Mouse bedspread? No offense. I'm not sure if some of you may have that. The Closet Little Mermaid fan may have that. Then he's got a Mickey Mouse telephone, a Mickey Mouse lunchbox. He's got Mickey Mouse slippers. Every Disney movie poster that was ever done was on the walls. It was literally Disney World in a room. The guy's not in the room at the time, so I go over and I pick up a sketchbook. So I want to see how good he is. I start looking through his sketchbooks, and we're just drawings of Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse playing baseball, scary Mickey. I never drew Mickey before in my life. I was intimidated. Then I see another sketchbook. It says hands and feet. I'm like, oh, let's see how good he's at hands. It's one of those things my art teacher had me draw. So I open it up, I'm looking, and it's these 4-finger white gloves. Yeah, it's Mickey Mouse hands, so like every position. I'm like, this guy's Mickey crazy. I turn to leave the room, and I bump into the guy who's room is. Uh-oh, I'm busted. I go, hey man, I'm sorry. He looks up at me and goes, how you doing? I said, I'm good. What's your name? He says, my name's Jason. But people call me Mickey Mouse Jason. I'm like, they call you what? He goes, Mickey. I'm like, I heard you. You have a Disney nickname? He's like, what? You know? I'm like, no, I know. I go back to my room. I get on the phone with my mom. I'm like, Mom, if I'm going to fit in art school, you better send me some Mickey slippers quick. This is before Pixar, before DreamWorks. If you wanted a job in animation, it was Disney. Then 1 week later, a Disney representative comes to our school, stands up in the auditorium, and gives a presentation of what Disney's looking for in their portfolio. This is one of the original animators on Sleeping Beauty from the 50s. His name was Bill Matthews. Incredible. He stands up on that stage, and I remember that was the first time I'd seen the entire school in one room. Every freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. There were 750 students in the room that day. And this guy, before the presentation starts, and he says, how many of you want to be Disney animators? Every hand went up. 750 students, just in that school. He looks out to us and he says, just so you know, maybe 4 of you will ever work there. That's how competitive it is. And when he said that, I thought one thing. I wonder who the other 3 are going to be. Right? Because in life, you either believe in yourself that you can accomplish or you don't. I mean, deep down. Not when you tell people, not when you post on TikTok or Instagram. I mean, deep down, do you really believe that you can do something great? Because I heard one thing. It may not be probable that I'm going to get into Disney. Don't ever let anyone tell you what you can go for. Don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't. How many times? It's such a cliche for me in my life. I have parents all the time tell me my kid wants to be an actor, my kid wants to do this. The parents are competitive. You know what I say to the parents? So, who cares if it's competitive? That means there's a value to that job. If it wasn't competitive, then you don't want your kid doing it anyway. Because only when it's competitive is your kid going to work a little bit harder. First week in school, before we started with art classes, the guy says one more thing on stage. He goes, if you want to work at Disney, you need a portfolio, 25 pages, a figure drawing, and anatomy. All drawings of humans and animals done from life. He says, we don't want to see any cartoon characters, and especially, he goes, no drawings of Mickey Mouse. I was like, oh, yeah, Mickey Mouse Jason. You can see him like slouching his chair, and I'm like, oh boy. But to me, that equation was growing. First it was Saul plus go to this school, equal dream of becoming a Disney animator. Now it's Saul plus a portfolio, 25 pages of figure drawing and anatomy will equal dream at Disney. First week in school, nobody knows each other. Everyone's going out to parties and meeting each other. I don't know if it was an Ohio thing, but people were very thirsty in my college. Because they were drinking a lot. Apple juice, kids. You mean? Apple juice. And at one of these parties, I remember seeing someone had this contraption, we call it contraption, to help them drink apple juice very quickly. But it wasn't dehydrated, so they wanted to drink. You understand this, right? Yeah. So I see in the corner, this girl is drinking apple juice incredibly quickly from this contraption. And then I see a guy next to her with a sketchbook, because it's art school, and he's drawing the girl drinking her apple juice. And I go over to this guy, and I'm like, excuse me, what are you doing? What class is this for? He goes, it's not for a class. I'm like, so why are you drawing that? He says, because I want to get better. His name was Andy, and he became my best friend. Now, let me tell you guys, as a freshman, this guy was by far the best artist in the school. You know why? Because he never stopped drawing. And just being friends with a guy like that made me a better artist. His work ethic, his discipline, that made me happy. Because who you choose to be friends with actually affects who you become. Listen carefully. Who you choose to be friends with will actually affect who you become in life. Their values will become your values. Choose your friends wisely. So sophomore year comes, and I get my drawings together, put them in a portfolio, I send them to Disney. I didn't expect to get in the first time. I just want to go through the process. Put it all together, send them to Disney, and I wait, and a month goes by. I get a letter one day in the mail on stationery with a gold leaf Mickey embossed on there. My name is typed on the front. Get my mom on the phone. She's like, honey, you're going to do it. I'm like, you have to say that. You're my mom. I open up the envelope. It says, Saul, thanks for sending your portfolio in, but unfortunately, you didn't make it. Okay, I was rejected. Like I said, I didn't care. I didn't expect to get in that way anyway. I took that letter, I put it up over my desk. I was proud of it. The Disney company knew I was alive. They had my name typed on an envelope. People were coming into the door, Blinkoff, the Disney company knows you're alive. Wow. It was awesome. It was a great day. I still remember it. Another year goes by. And this time, Andy and I are drawing nonstop. One day, it was a bitter cold day. We went to the Columbus Zoo. We're talking bitter cold, freezing. And there was about 17 students that day. We had to go to the zoo to draw animals. You know, when you guys watch a movie like Lion King, how do you think animators know how to draw elephants? They take anatomy books and learn the anatomy. We go to the zoo. When Walt Disney made Bambi, he brought deer into the studio. You always have to draw from life to learn the anatomy. So we go to the zoo. It's a freezing, bitter day. We get to the Wendy's in the cafe they had in the zoo because it's freezing. We go there, we get hot drinks, coffee, hot chocolate. Girls are flirting with the guys are flirting with the girls. After about 5 minutes, Andy and I are done with our drinks. We go out there, and miracle of miracles, there's an elephant who's just walking back and forth, doing the exact same motion over and over again, which is the greatest thing when you're studying movement and animation, is to see an animal repeat that, watching the steps and the trunk. It was amazing. We did drawings. It was freezing, but we did drawings. After an hour, we go into the bus. Everyone gets in the bus. Andy and I are showing each other our artwork. I go over to one of the other guys. I'm like, dude, I never saw you out there with the elephants. Where were you guys? He goes, well, none of us ever left the Wendy's. I'm like, why not? He goes, well, we couldn't leave. I said, why not? He says, because it was too cold. It was too cold. But if I asked you an hour to go on the bus, did you dream to be a Disney animator? You know what you would have said? Yeah, of course it's my dream. Unless it's too cold. I mean, unless it's too difficult. How often do I meet people who come to me when I give a lecture, so like, my dream is to do this or that. Give any advice? I'm like, yeah. I tell them what to do, and then I tell them, a year later, call me, let me know when you've done it. Rarely do I ever get a call. It's easy to dream big, not easy to persevere and go through the pain. Watch a documentary of anybody that inspires you, anybody on Netflix. You know what they all have in common? An insane amount of hard work through pain. Michael Jordan, you guys watch The Last Dance? Anyone see, remember the Portland game?
I watched.
Who saw it? What happened in Portland, remember? Who remembers? First of all, I've loved Michael Jordan my whole life. Until I saw The Last Dance, I had no idea. He gets food poisoning from ordering pizza. You remember that?
Oh, I do remember that.
Remember that? Remember that? Yeah, he gets food poisoning. You ever have food poisoning? Like the worst pain in your stomach, insane? And he plays anyway? I'm like, that's the man right there. What's that? Yeah, I mean, insane. So you need to have that pain. And I'll tell you, when I was on the bus, and that guy told me it was too cold, it was one of the greatest moments of my life. Because I knew right then and there that Andy and I were going to get into Disney because this is the mentality of all of our competition in school. Andy and I send our portfolios in, and we wait. It's midway through the year, junior year, holiday break. I'm home in New York, and I get a call. It's Andy. Andy, what's up? He's like, Blinkoff, you're not going to believe this. I'm like, what am I not going to believe? He goes, I got it. I said, you know what? I got the internship. I'm like, amazing. Congratulations. He goes, but you didn't hear? I'm like, no, but they could be trying to call me right now. I got to hang up. We don't call Wayne back then. So I get up, I'm pacing back and forth in the dining room. My mom and dad come in, like, honey, I'm like, Mom, ain't done. And we're pacing back and forth. And the phone is not ringing. It's driving me nuts. You know what I did? I picked up the phone, and I called the head of Disney myself. Who does that? Well, I did. Because when there's something you want in your life, you will do anything to get is something you want in your life, there's no can't. You get out of your comfort zone. When I was 11 years old and I went to the Knicks to watch them in Madison Square Garden playing the Bulls, and I saw Jordan in the middle of the court with those breakaway pants that they wear. And Jordan was like dribbling the ball before the game. I'm 11 years old, standing there, and he had that game face, that focus. He's just dribbling the ball. And I said to my older brother, Jay, I'm gonna go walk out there and be Michael Jordan. Madison Square Garden, on the court. You don't do that when you're a kid. You don't do that anyway. And my brother said, he ain't going nowhere. Before he could finish that line, I'm standing in the middle of the court looking up to Michael Jordan. And I said, hi, Mr. Jordan. And he looks down at me and says, quote, yo, how you doing? End quote. Spider-Man. And he shook my hand. This one right there. So I had that number 23 sweat. Never watched. You know why I walked out there? Because when there's something you want in your life, you will do anything to get it. So I called the head of Disney. I'm like, hi, my name is Saul Blinkoff. I want to find out about the internship. He goes, oh, Saul, I have your name on the list. I'm like, really? And he goes, yeah. You didn't make it. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm sorry. You didn't make it. I was like, oh, what about Andy? He goes, yeah, you made it. You didn't. I'm like, oh, okay. So I hung up the phone. My parents were standing there. That was a very bittersweet moment in my life. Sweet, because I was happy for my best friend. Bitter, because I wasn't getting my dream. You know where Andy's going? He's going to Disney World. What they call Disney World? The happiest place on earth. Yeah, what a good tagline. Whoever came up with that? You can be happy in Hawaii, but if you want to be happiest, the only place you can do that is Disney World. Andy's going off to sunny, beautiful Disney World to live his dream. You know what I'm going back to? Ohio in the wintertime. Freezing, bitter cold, the most depressing place on earth. And when I get back to the school, I'm walking the halls of the school, and everyone's coming up to me. They're like, Saul, what are you doing here? I thought you got, you didn't make it. I'm so, hey, where's Andy? Oh, he got in. Oh, I'm sorry. I became known as the guy that was friends with the guy that got into Disney. I became known as the guy that didn't get what he really, really wanted. And you know, I felt like a loser. I felt like a loser. And then I came up with the most brilliant way to take that feeling away. You can forget everything I've said here tonight so far. I'd be fine with that. If you walk out of here tonight, and you just remember this one idea, we saw that the flight will be worth it. You ever have a time in your life when you fail, and you will, because you're human. You ever have a time when you fail, and you get that feeling of down, you feel like a loser? You can take that feeling away in a second. Do what I did. You know what I did? I gave up. I gave up on the entire dream. It's so much easier to give up than to try. Especially when you're public about it. You tell people about it. They see how much you want something. See, when I failed, my whole family got the phone call. Oh, I'm sorry. My grandparents, my uncle, everyone in school. Wow, this kid's really a loser. Not for my family, but guys in school. I gave up because reality said it. Reality was, Andy was an awesome artist. And I was just Saul. I was just average. I wasn't a natural. I wasn't talented. I worked at it, but I just couldn't do it. So I gave up. A week later, a buddy calls me up and says, Saul, I got tickets to go see a movie. You want to go? I'm like, no. He goes, but they're free. I said, oh, okay. I go to the movies and I'm watching a movie, and at the end of the movie, tears are streaming down my face. I don't mean I was choked up. I was crying. Tears streaming down my face. This movie is a true story. It's about a guy who's 5 feet nothing, 100 and nothing, and wants to play football at Notre Dame. What movie?
Rudy.
Boom! I love it. How many people have seen Rudy here? Okay. You got Rudy? You guys seen Rudy? Have you ever heard it? No? Okay. You guys. Homework assignment. After you watch The Little Mermaid tonight, then you get a stream of Rudy. Guys, Rudy's a true story. If you were friends with Rudy Rudiger, and he told you my dream was to play football at Notre Dame, you know what you would have told him as his friend? Dude, I love you. Get a new dream. Rudy was like, yeah, well, we'll just see about that. And he tries to get in. And you know what happens? Rejected. Tries a second year. Rejected. Third year? Rejected. But fourth year. If you look at the movie poster for the movie Rudy, it says, when people tell you dreams don't come true, tell them about Rudy. He gets in. And tears are streaming down my face because I'm thinking one thing. If an unathletic kid could get into Notre Dame with an insane amount of hard work, then I would do the same. I decided right then and there I would never give up again. I called up the head of Disney the next day. Got the guy back in the front and said, Saul, I told you you didn't get in. I'm like, yeah, I know. Let me ask you a question. How close was I? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, how many interns did you pick from how many portfolios? I wanted to know where I made it in. He said, well, we picked 17 from over 3,800 portfolios around the world. You made it to number 20. Whoa. I missed it by 3. Do you know how many times in life we could be so close to achieving our goal that we feel we're miles away? All we need to do is push just a little bit more. And then I asked him the magic question. Why? Why did you not accept it? Because when we fail, and we will, it's in those moments we need to find out why. Because that is the answer key to growing. And he told me, he goes, Saul, can I be honest with you, please? He's like, you need more perspective in your drawing. Instead of sitting in figure drawing class, there's the model, and you're drawing from your seat. Why don't you get up and move around? Walk around, stand on a stool, go down low, give us a dynamic perspective. I was like, thank you, answer key. Go to figure drawing class the next day. I get this giant wood box. I move it to the center of the room. I stand on a chair on a wood box. My head is 20 feet up. And I'm looking down at this woman who's posing, and I'm doing drawing. She's looking like I'm nuts. I didn't care. In the back of the room was a bunch of guys. I still remember them saying, whispering, look at the loser standing up in the box. Who cares? Do you think I was going to say, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I would love to be accepted by you. Let me step down. Who cares what they think? Forget what everyone thinks. Get out of your comfort zone. If you know you're doing the right thing, do the right thing. The head of Disney told me what to do. Believe me, I'll be standing in a box if the head of Disney told me what to do. And I get those drawings, I put them together, put them in a portfolio, and I send them to Disney, and I wait. And 3 months go by. It was like the longest I ever had to wait or look for a mic piece. There we go. I have to wait, and 3 months go by until one day I get a call on the phone, and it's Andy. I'm like, hey man, what's up? Oh, there we go. Boom. He goes, Blinkoff, you're not going to believe this. I'm like, why do we start our conversation about it? What am I not going to believe? He goes, they built a brand new wing on a studio for the animators. A brand new part of the building. You deserve to be there. I was like, thanks, man. He goes, you know what else they did? I'm like, what? He goes, they built a basketball court for the animators, just for Disney animators. You love basketball. You deserve to play on that court. I'm like, thanks, man. He goes, but there's one more thing. I'm like, what? He says, they put up a piece of paper with a list of the new interns. You're on the list. I was like, what? He goes, dude, you did it. I'm like, thank you. He's like, what are you thanking me for? You did it. I hang up the phone, I go over to my tape player. You don't know what tapes are, they play music, okay? And at the top of my lungs, it's the circle of life, and it moves us all. People are like waiting outside their room, like, Blinkoff got it. I go over to my phone, I pick up the phone. Can you imagine how fast I dialed my mom? She could hear it in my voice. I will never forget. She's like, honey, did you do it? I said, no, Mom, we did it. We did it, Mom. You're the one that took me to Disney World. You're the one that embarrassed me and walked me around. You're the one who took me to this art school and that art school. But you know what, Mom? This winter, you can stay in New York, because I'm going to the happiest place on earth. I landed in Orlando. Still to this day, my favorite airport. It's literally like Garden of Eden of airports. Just beautiful, green, never a rush, no traffic, just smells beautiful. I don't know if they put me there. I landed at the airport. There's a guy with a sign with my name on it. You know, you go riding in life, there's someone like waiting you for the airport. But the sign had a picture of Mickey Mouse pointing to my name. I was like, freaking Mickey Mouse inviting me to the airport. It was awesome. The guy drives me to Walt Disney Studios, drives me under a sign that says Artist Entrance. I pull in there, I walk into a room half the size of this, and there's 11 animation desks. This is before computer animation. And in the corner, there's a desk with my name on it. Saul Blinkoff, Jewish kid from New York who had a dream when he was 11 years old to make movies. You know, who leave here tonight? Tell everybody you know. You know who I heard speak today? I heard a guy who achieved his dream who was not talented. I heard a guy who achieved his dream who was the worst artist in his school. I'm telling you the truth. If I get into Disney, there's nothing stopping you from achieving anything you want. It sounds like a cliche, but I love it. Because nobody wakes up great at anything. You know why LeBron became LeBron? Because he took 800 jump shots every single day before breakfast. While everyone else is talking about everything they're going to do, we should do it. And when I got to Disney, all the work had started again. I had artists from around the world there. At the end of the internship, we found out we're going to be the first interns to work on a movie. We're going to work on the film Pocahontas. Wow, you guys remember that movie, by the way? That's definitely before you were born, 1996, 95? Yeah, a long time ago. So in that film, the very first thing I ever got to draw ever in a Disney movie was a scene, a very dramatic scene, where Pocahontas is in the forest. She's talking to John Smith. Coco was the Native American guy she's supposed to marry. Well, he finds out she's talking to someone else. He's not very happy about that. He walks in the forest at night, very dramatic scene. There's these leaves. He pushes the leaves away to see them. And they ask me to animate the leaves. That's it. I was the leaf guy at Disney. And you know what? I was okay with that. You do a drawing of a leaf on a piece of paper, the leaf is this big. On a movie screen, when it's stretched out, it's a 50-foot leaf. Better be a good leaf. I was nervous about it. I took a zero step. Very first leaf drawing, I sent it home to my mom. She tells everyone in the community, my son draws leaves for Disney. She's so proud, right? I said, Mom, put it on the fridge. With my sister, there's nothing in there. After Pocahontas, actually, right, like the beginning of it, something comes in the mail, changes my life forever. Paycheck. They're paying me to do what I love. Are you kidding me? Now, I know it's a job, and most people get paid for jobs, but I never actually thought about that part until that paycheck came. Like, I'd be paying them to let me do this. I go to buy a sports car. I go to Abercrombie and Fitch. It was cool then. I'm like, I'll take this, I'll take this, I'll take this. I had everything I wanted. And then my parents said, when we started working on the Hunchback of Notre Dame, remember that movie? My parents said during Hunchback, like, honey, do you have a vacation coming up? I'm like, yeah. They're like, why don't you come to Israel with me and your dad? He said, Israel. You did know something Jewish was going to be this talk, right? This is the how do you become a Disney animator talk. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go to Israel. How many people have not been to Israel? Who's not been? Let me just see hands here. Not been, not been, not been. 3, 4, 5, okay. All of you with your hands up, this is your year. Don't tell me COVID, nothing. This is your year. They need to go. Don't think it up. They need to go. Let's go. Hold it down. Strong throw it out. We gotta go. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go to Israel. So I go to Israel with my parents. I'm about to walk down to the Western Wall, the hotel. And if you go there today, you will see there's a bagel place there called Holy Bagel. Get it? Holy Bagel. Because Jews got to have their bagel before they go down to pray, right? But back in the day, before Holy Bagel, there was another bagel place called, anyone remember? What? There you go, Bonker's Bagels. Boom, remember that? Bonker's? So I go to Bonker's Bagels, and I order a bagel, because I know how to do with bagels, I'm from New York. So I order the everything bagel. I want the cream cheese, the lox, the tomato, the red onion, the mustard cheese, and I want it in a very certain order. The Israeli guy's like, what do you mean order? I'm like, you can't put the cream cheese next to the mustard cheese, because it's going to stick to the roof of my mouth. I have to separate that with the tomato. Isn't that right? Let me draw for you a cross-section of bagel perfection. And I draw for you. Feel bad for my wife who lives with me? I do. So I draw this for the Israeli, what I want that bagel to look like, and I take that drawing and I hand it to him. And his mindset shifts from, this guy's crazy to, I can do this. And I'm like, no, you can't. He starts making the bagel. As he's making the bagel, in walks a guy who's like my age, baseball hat, New York Knicks logo. I'm like, dude, New York. I'm like, I'm from New York, right? And like the Knicks start talking about sports. I said, what are you doing here? He says, I'm here learning. Like, what is it? What do you mean learning? For a test coming up? Like, what does that mean? He goes, well, I'm in a yeshiva program. I'm like, yeshiva? You don't look like a yeshiva. Yeshiva guy has the fringes and the curls. Like, you don't have that look. He goes, well, I'm here because I want to find out how I fit in to the Jewish people. I'm like, what, your puzzle piece? I don't get it. And this is what he said. He said everything about my Jewish identity was defined by my parents, by my mom and dad growing up. Everything we did in the house and out of the house, everything about how I was a Jew was defined by mom and dad. Now that I'm becoming an adult, he says, I want to find out how Judaism fits into my life. I want to find out how I fit into the Jewish people as an adult. And I remember being envious of this guy. All of a sudden, the guy with the bagel told me my bagel's ready. I forgot about that guy. I never saw him again. The Israeli guy takes the bagel, and I'm looking at that bagel, and it's perfect. Like, he made it the right way. But before he hands it to me, for some reason, this is what they do in Israel. Remember this when you guys go for the first time. He takes the bagel, puts it under a waffle line, and goes, and everything in that bagel was now out of the bagel. And I was holding in my hands a disgusting heap of what used to be bagel perfection. It was literally disgusting. And I go over to the counter and I said, "Hey, excuse me, I can't even eat this." The Israeli guy looks at me and goes, "So what do you want me to do?" You don't think, like, he's got like an idea. Probably hasn't done like, nothing. I love the bagel this way. It's new, it's artistic. This will be the new perfect. Thanks, I'm fine. So I have a bagel, I go back to Disney. I work on the film Mulan. Remember Mulan? Let's get down to business to defeat the Huns. My 17-year-old daughter said to me, Dad, when you go speak to these students, you might not want to sing. I'm like, why? Isn't that embarrassing? She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, good. I'm definitely going to sing. Because if you're going to embarrass your teenage daughter today, and remember this, your parents have to embarrass you, then I know what your job is. Okay, tell myself. So I go back, I work on Mulan, and it was inspiring and awesome. After Mulan, 3 years later, we have what's called downtime. See, we're about to go work on Tarzan, but they weren't ready for the animators yet because they were working on the script. It takes 4 years to make a Disney movie. So while they were figuring out that script, we came into work every day with nothing to do. It was awesome. We'd come into work and be like, you know what, you can go back home. You don't have to come in, we'll pay you to do nothing. They ever offer you a job in downtime? Take the job, okay? You know what downtime is at Disney World? You ride roller coasters. Every day, it's Space Mountain, Thunder Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain, woo, every day. Well, every day turned into weeks, turned into 6 months. They said, you don't even have to come into work. Paycheck, you're coming in. So you know what me and my boys did? We go to a different hotel every day. Disney has over 15 hotels. We would crash a different swimming pool every single day. We go to the Disney Beach Club hotel, they have one of those lazy rivers. You don't have to get live and you can swim. I love it. My brother was freezing in law school. He's like, Saul, what are you up to these days? I went, Jen, you don't want to know. I'm telling you guys, at that moment in my life, I had every single thing I ever could have wanted. But you can make a checklist of every single dream you have. I had my dream job. I was making great money. I had great friends. I had a great girlfriend who I later married. You will all meet her when you come to our house for Shabbos dinner. Did I tell you you're invited for Shabbos? You're all invited, okay? Maybe not the same night. That might be too many Shabbos, right? But you are all invited. I need it any time for the rest of your life. If you're ever in LA, it could be next week, it could be 6 years. Look me up on Instagram and say, Blinkoff, I'm coming to LA with my friends. Can I come to you for Shabbos dinner? You are invited. I mean that. Come meet my wife and 4 kids and our puppy. He's really sweet. So there I am, in the beach club pool. I have everything I could want. And I'm telling you though, something was missing. And I remember the feeling I had in that bagel place. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go learn about Judaism. So I go to Israel for 10 days. That's it. 10 days on a program, 2 guys, 7 girls on a program called Israelite. With 2 rabbis, Rabbi Benny Friedman and Rabbi David Aaron. Rabbi walks in the first day, speaks to us for 15 minutes, and what he said in those 15 minutes changed the course of the rest of my life. Here's what he says. He looks at us and he goes, how do you know what a mezuzah is? I'm like, yeah, I go to the doorway. He goes, well, what's it for? I'm like, doesn't it like, protect your house from evil spirits? I don't know. He goes, we'll get back to that. What's inside? I said, there's something inside. I didn't know that. I thought it was a piece of art that had a shame for Shabbat, God's name. You put it on. I didn't know there was anything inside. He goes, no, you're missing it. Inside is a parchment. And written on the parchment is part of the Torah. He says the Torah is a love letter from God to humanity. And written in that mezuzah is the Shema. It's the mission statement of the Jewish people. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And we're commanded to take that love letter from the Creator of the world and put it on our doorway. If you guys had a letter that came to you from the Creator of the world and it was floating and glowing, what would you do with it? You would take a selfie with that thing. You'd be posting it everywhere. You wouldn't be like, you know what, Mom, Dad, you know where that's going? Doorway. It doesn't make sense unless you go deeper. And here's what the rabbi said. He says, you know what this is? It's not a thing. It's an opportunity. You know what a doorway is? It's a transition from your house out into the world. You're walking through a doorway. Was this an opportunity to ask myself a question? I'm going out into the world. What kind of a world do I want to create? What am I living for? Even though I work in film, sometimes work, it's hard. I work with people that work so many sometimes. I have a bad day, just like everybody else, because it's called a job. Some days when I'm driving home, I don't want to walk into my house. I don't want to see the kids in my life and have all the stress. I just want to walk in and go sit somewhere. And I'm going to walk in my house, I'm going to walk in, and my wife can read my face. She's like, oh, honey, you had a bad day. Guys, leave Daddy alone. Yeah, I can do that. Or I can do this. I can try to home and go, yeah, I had a terrible day. I'm about to walk into my home, and it was Zuzah. And that Zuzah can remind me, Saul, grow up. Grow up. Leave your problems at home. Walk in, why don't you ask your wife how her day was? Why don't you go over to your 8-year-old Naomi and say, honey, how is your, what, 8-year-olds can't have a tough day? Of course they can. There's that position to remind us when we're going out what we want to accomplish in life. Do I want to give to the world? Do I want to take from the world? I said to the rabbi, I didn't know I'd give any of this growing up. He goes, salt doesn't matter what you know. It matters what you do with what you know. And then he told us a story of a girl in the Holocaust, 21 years old, a true story. She's in Auschwitz, and she looks to the rabbi in the camps with her. She says, Rabbi, I need a knife. And the rabbi looks into her eyes and can tell that she wants to end her life. And he says, don't do this. Don't let them win. And as they're speaking, 2 Nazis approach. And they see them talking. They see you talking, they'll shoot you. They'll shoot you anyway. They're murderers. And the 2 Nazis are walking over, and this woman, this is a true story, she looks over one of the Nazis, and she sees the outline of his breast pocket is a knife. And she looks at him and demands his knife. She says, give me your knife. And the Nazi, he's laughing. The other one says, you know what, give her the knife. What's she going to do? We have guns. So they hand her the knife. She reaches down to her leg and pulls up a bundle of clothing. She undoes the bundle inside. It's a brand new baby boy. It's her son. And she looks up to the heavens. She takes the knife and she says to the creator of the world, God, you gave me this beautiful baby boy, and now I'm going to return him to you perfect. And with that, she took the knife and performed on her own son a procedure. Circumcision. You know why? Because the kid's a Jew. And she took her son. I'm a dad. I have a son. She took her son and put him into the arms of a Nazi. The baby was crying from the wrist dealer. No more crying. To the back of her head. Both of them murdered. And you hear that story, can you imagine the tears over Auschwitz? But if you go deep in that story, there's something so profound. You know what Randolph Heine said? He said, if we don't know what we're willing to die for, we're not living for anything. If we don't know what we're willing to die for, we're not living for anything. So he said, so choose what you're willing to die for, and now live for it. The rabbi looked to us and he said, if you could go back to that night in Auschwitz, I'm telling you guys, we could go back in Auschwitz and Doc Brown's time machine and whisper into the ear of that woman who's putting her son into the arms of that Nazi, don't worry. Because not so long in the future, the Nazis will be gone. The Jewish people have a state of Israel. They wouldn't even believe you. She wouldn't even believe you. And now that we know that, the rabbi said, what are we going to do about it? It's nothing short of miraculous that Jews even exist on planet Earth. But that's what we're going to hear. If you could tell that woman that you're part of a Jewish program, and you can learn Jewish wisdom, and you can light Shabbat candles, put on the film, they wouldn't even believe you. So I just realized one thing at that point in my life, I didn't want to just be Jewish anymore. I wanted to live Jewish. So I go back to Disney, finish working on Tarzan, then I become a director in LA, moved from Florida to LA, start directing the Winnie the Pooh movie called Winnie the Pooh Springtime with Roo. First day on that movie, I go and there's a drawing of Winnie the Pooh in the 100-acre wood, and Winnie the Pooh lives in a tree. So I have to sign the drawing to approve it so that they know that it goes to the color department to get painted. So I sign it, everything's good, everyone leaves the room, and when they leave the room, I'm like, don't Disney artists like hide things in the movies? I'm not hiding something. I show up with a pencil, I go over the drawing, and I hid next to his doorway, up. I drew it in the movie. Now he's not Winnie the Pooh, he's Winnie the Jew. The next movie I directed, Kronk's New Groove, the sequel to Emperor's New Groove. I'm reading the script, it said Kronk gets married. I'm like, this is great, let's get him a hook. I got my wedding album with the calla flowers that my wife loved that I wrote by gave to the artist. I'm like, make it look like my wife's notebook. Make it look like that. It's in the movie. You watch it, he steps on the glass mistletoe. As a matter of fact, before I even went back to LA, I had a pit stop in Manhattan, the Upper West Side. For 1 year, I was directing at MTV, a crazy show called Spy Group. And it was during that year in the Upper West Side that I became Shomer Shabbos slowly. And my wife lived across the street from me. And she had an incredible friend who's sitting right there, raise your hand. Woo, right there. And they used to make these incredible Shabbos dinners together. I fell in love with Shabbos. I wanted that life when I got out to LA, so I found a Jewish community right in Beverly Hills in Pico Robertson. And that's where we live today. You know, people ask me all the time, like, how do you balance living an observant Jewish life working in Hollywood? You know what I say? How do you not? I live in a town where everyone is going for that gold statue. They all won that Oscar. They all define themselves by all their awards. I come home on Tuesday night and I get a phone call from work. I gotta take the phone call. But I come home on Friday night and my kids know it's not just daddy's home. Daddy's home. Phone call doesn't matter. Work doesn't matter. Shabbat grounds me. Torah grounds me. You know, when my son Asher was 6, we noticed that he could sing really well. He could harmonize. He had a great ear. So I said to my wife, maybe he'll be good at being like in animated films. He can voiceover. So how do you know a kid's good? First of all, when you work with a kid who's 6, they can't read yet. So a director will say a line to a kid like this, "But Dad, when can we go?" And the kid can mimic it because he hears it like notes. "But Dad, when can we go?" So our son was 6 and he could do that at home perfectly. I'm like, he's a great kid, let's do it. We got an agent. My wife takes him to an audition at the Sony Studios. There's 150 kids in that lobby there. And it's one thing for him to do it at home for Mom and Daddy. It's another thing to have to go into a room at 6 years old, Mom and Daddy are away, and a stranger says, "Say this in the microphone like this," and he has to say it with that exact energy. Listening by the door, he hits it out of the park. And they cast him in the movie Hotel Transylvania. You guys heard of that movie? You know the little redhead kid, Dennis? You like that movie? You know the redhead kid, Dennis? That's my son, Saul Blinkoff. What am I talking about here? You think I'm making this up? That's it! When you went to the Sony Studios, there was a picture of Selena Gomez, Andy Samberg, Adam Sandler, Saul Blinkoff, who was a big fella, keep on with his evil letters. One day, I picked him up from school. He was asleep in our minivan. That's what you do when you get a minivan. You get 4 kids and a puppy. And Sony calls. It's Erev Shabbos. It's Friday afternoon. We're hosting all these young professionals to our home. And my wife says, Sony called. We got to take Asha to Sony, which is only like 10 minutes from our home. We got to take him to Sony. We got to record like one line they need right now to go to production. I'm like, honey, he's asleep. She's like, you got to go. I'm like, okay, fine. So like an hour before Shabbos, I pull into the Sony line. The guy tells me, like he always does, you're going to have to park over there and walk across the entire lot. There's like 50 sound stages, each one like a gymnasium. And I'm thinking, how am I going to wake up this kid and walk him all this? It's going to take me like 15 minutes to get there. So I say to the guy, listen, I got the main character of the movie here. He's like, well, who do you have? I'm like, I got Asher. He's like, well, no problem. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. I'm like, amazing, thank you. I'm pulling in. I hear him saying to the other guy, how he's got Usher. The R&B star. That's what he thought I had. I did not correct him. Anyway, I took him there, made it over Shabbos, all was good. I'm going to get with one final idea for you guys. I told you a story tonight of how hard I worked to get into Disney. As much as you think you know about how difficult that was, you heard stories about me drawing in the freezing cold and all that, the pain and the struggle and the rejection. I want to tell you the most difficult part about that journey was up here for me. It was the emotions of it. The emotions of dreaming for something. The emotions of giving up. Those emotions, that's the most difficult thing. That's the most difficult thing for me. But I will tell you that as hard as I worked to get into Disney, it's nothing compared to the amount of effort that I put in to try to live an awesome life. To try to be a better father. To try to be a better husband. To try to be a better human being. I have a secret weapon at my side. You know, the Jewish people are known as an Am Segula, a treasured people. Ever heard that? Am Segula. You know why? You know what our treasure is? It's our Torah. Torah is a Hebrew word. It means instructions. It means directions. And the Torah is not a history book. It is our history, but more than that, it's the instruction manual for living. You want to be a good husband someday? See what Torah tells you about that. You want to be a good mother someday? You want to have a great career? You want to be a leader? You want to be successful? The Torah is the secret to the Jewish people. With that foundation, I honestly feel like I can do anything. And I hope that every single one of you, when we walk out of here tonight, you remember these messages. You dream big. There's nothing in your way. There's nothing you can't have if you want. You know, a year ago, I started a podcast. Have you listened to the podcast? I started a podcast called Life of Awesome. It's not a Jewish podcast. It's just me talking about total wisdom. But they're like 22-minute episodes. I also interview some incredible people. I just interviewed Big George Foreman, the heavyweight champion of the world. I'm interviewing Simone Biles next month. You know who she is? The gymnast. She has an incredible story of tenacity. Amazing. I'm interviewing Harry Connick Jr. You guys know who that is? I'm interviewing lots of Andy Moore is coming on the podcast. You know who she is? Actress. So check out the podcast. I'm also on Instagram. I throw quotes up there. And you guys connect with me. If I can ever help you guys in your careers, if you ever want advice, like look me up. It'd be a pleasure to give you guys time. I appreciate you guys being here tonight. Thank you so much.